So I'm going to start in a rather odd way. Thank you all for coming, first of all. It was great. It's heartwarming to see such a crowd. The first thing I'm going to ask is, how many of you have either seen live or on video, heard a recording of, or actually even performed in Manon Lescaut? Hands? How many of you have heard, seen, or performed in La Bohème? How many of you have heard, seen, or performed Turandot? Oh, I forgot something. How many of you have seen Auber's Manon Lescaut, Leoncavallo's La Bohème, Ferruccio Busoni's Turandot? And that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I'm directed to point you to the mic.
Okay, you can't hear? Okay. So I undertook this task when I discovered that there is another opera based on the original source of the medieval epic from Germany called Die Nibelungenlied, and it is called Sigurd, and is by a French composer named Ernest Reyer. Unlike the Gotterdammerung that you are going to see on Sunday, and perhaps have seen already, it takes fewer liberties with Die Nibelungenlied than Wagner did. And I would characterize it this way. Wagner's Gotterdammerung basically is like a combo platter, where you can pick and choose whichever thing you want. And Sigurd is basically like, I'm ordering this, but may I substitute that item? The Die Nibelungenlied means Song of the Nibelungs. Der Ring des Nibelungen means Ring of the Nibelungs. So in the Die Nibelungenlied, there is not the ring, there is a ring. So the ring that you've been following through Das Rheingold doesn't exist in Die Nibelungenlied, and it doesn't exist in Sigurd in the same way. So I'm going to run you through it sort of as to what happens when, and I'm going to sing a few excerpts from the Sigurd, and you'll get to hear all the Gotterdammerung you want on Sunday. Maybe more than what you want. Basically, Reyer was a French composer. He started out taking lessons when he was young. His father wanted him to become an accountant and sent him to apprentice under his brother in Algeria. He hated it. He was not suited for it. He came back and became a composer who studied under his aunt, who was at the Paris Conservatoire. And he then did some music criticism while he was composing. He became pretty famous with a couple of operas that he did in the early 1860s, was taken under the wing of Berlioz, and actually became the succeeding critic of the Journal des Débats, which was actually where Berlioz was before he was. So he was well known for certain things, and then all of a sudden he decided to undertake in 1862 Sigurd. He did know sort of that Wagner was doing a ring. There had not been a publicly printed libretto of the entire ring, but he had heard things, most of them wrong. There would be a singing dragon. There would be Rhine maidens who would sing unintelligible, completely unintelligible lyrics and other semi-true, completely untrue things. He was able at one point to, about the time he composed, and it's argued whether he did this or didn't do this before or after this event, he was able to go to Wagner's where Wagner was living in 1864 and play through the Tristan und Isolde score on the piano. He at the time did not like it. He didn't like anything Wagner past Lohengrin. Of course, there wasn't really anything except for Tristan. He later changed his mind and became a Tristan fan. He employed the same things, although in a more rudimentary way, leitmotifs that you're probably, if you've been to any Wagner lecture, you've heard all about, and you'll hear some of them when I'm singing, and you'll recognize, oh, that sounds like this. So basically, he continued to do this. He ended up, after Sigurd, getting a lot of trouble. He started composing it in 1862 or 1864, depending on the source, basically completed it by 1867, but the Paris Opera would not do it. He finally got the Théâtre de la Monnaie in Brussels, Belgium, to perform it in 1884, so well after Wagner's Ring, but the Ring had only been performed once in Bayreuth by that point, and they were doing Parsifal for the next many years until they finally brought back the Ring. He then was able to get the Paris Opera to perform it. The problem was they made severe cuts, and Monsieur Reyer was a very stolid man of principle. He refused to attend the opening night or any performance until they restored the cuts. And subsequent composers like Vincent d'Indy, while criticizing his orchestration, praised him for his principles, but were influenced in becoming a composer from hearing some of the music of Sigurd. He composed one more opera called Salammbô, based on the Gustave Flaubert novel. He continued as a critic. He stayed in the same modest apartment and was the head of the library at the Paris Opera. And he died in 1909, so he survived Wagner by another 26 years, having only been born 10 years after Wagner. So here comes the story. So you know Gotterdammerung, I'm assuming. There is no prologue. There was originally a prologue to be set in heaven that tracked Die Walküre, Odin, Wotan, sentences Brunhilde to a rock and waits for a hero to come through the flames and deal with that. Except instead of a rock, he was going to put Brunhilde in a palace. So he eliminated that, and he started it out with Gunther being in his hall. He was like the Nibelungenlied, but unlike Wagner, specifically made it very close to where the real Gunther lived. There was a king named Gunther who was the head of the Burgundy, who lived, had a castle at Worms, which is on the left bank of the Rhine, not too far from Frankfurt am Main. He ended up winning there, becoming king, was king for about 23 years or so, and then lost what was called the Battle of Worms, and lost his kingdom and his life. So there was a real Gunther. There was actually a real Brunhilde from later times, who was the sister of Chapelric, who was a French king. He had a wife and a mistress. The mistress killed the wife and became queen. Brunhilde was married to Chapelric's brother, so actually sister-in-law. She was worried that after Chapelric died that he was going to take over, the brother, so she killed him. Brunhilde succeeded her, but the son of the match between the king and the mistress ended up putting her on a horse and dragging her to her death. So there was a Brunhilde. And the husband was named Siegfried, which sounds an awful lot like Siegfried or Sigmund. So now we come to the story. The first act kind of tracks the first act of Gotterdammerung. Instead of just being Gunther, Hagen, and Gutrune in the hall plotting as to what to do, with Gunther saying, "How do I become famous?" and Hagen says, "You have to get gold and you have to get a wife, and Gutrune needs a husband. How do we do that?" In the Gotterdammerung, of course, they say, "We get this Siegfried we've heard of, come to our place. He travels all around. I'm sure he'll be soon. And we get him to fall for Gutrune. Then we get him to go get Brunhilde for you. Because Hagen says, you, Gunther, you're no match for it. You won't be able to do it." The corresponding act actually has Gunther and his vassals out on a hunt. Everybody's waiting for him. And there's a backstory that's in the Nibelungenlied where Hilda, who's the Gutrune from Gotterdammerung, says, "I dreamed," and says to her mother, who doesn't appear in Gotterdammerung, says, I dreamed that I had this little bird, and I nourished it and fed it and kept it close to my heart. An eagle came down, took it away from me, and tore it to pieces. The mother, who also had the ability to see the future, said, that little bird is going to be a hero that you need to protect from one female rival and keep her from destroying him. Then comes the part proper, where Gunther comes back from the hunt. He proclaims, this is a wonderful festival. We have some envoys from another kingdom. And the envoys from another kingdom want Hilda, Gutruna, to marry the king of that kingdom. She denies them. The thing that changed from the Nibelungenlied is back in that time, when the Nibelungenlied was written, you were not, as a maiden, allowed to refuse your brothers marrying you off to anybody. But modern times, they changed it. And in the Nibelungenlied, the same offer is made, but this is after, in part 2 of the Nibelungenlied. The thing I should have said to you is that both Gotterdammerung and Sigurd only cover the first half of the Nibelungenlied. There's a whole other story that happens afterwards. But unlike Gotterdammerung, Sigurd takes things from that second part to insert in the first. So she denies it. The envoys are ready to leave. All of a sudden, somebody arrives, the same way that in Gotterdammerung, Siegfried arrives. This guy arrives, and his name is Sigurd. They've heard tell of him. Hilda, the Gutruna character, has actually been rescued by him when he killed the people who enslaved her. She has seen him and fallen in love with him then, but he didn't notice her, which makes her very unhappy and sad and moping all around the castle. So I'm going to sing for you now the entrance of Sigurd, which is called Prince du Rhin. He is addressing both Gunther and the soldiers and saying, this is the best army ever, and I'm glad to come visit. We are cutting a little part that says, what are you doing? Who are you? How dare you defy our king? And he says, well, I've come here because I, like you, Gunther, want to conquer Brunhild. There's some evidence in the Nibelungenlied that maybe Siegfried had met and had a bad relationship with Brunhild. But here, there's no real evidence that that's true. Again, even fewer hints, basically. So we think that he has never met her before. There is no scene that exactly corresponds in the scene in Siegfried of Wagner, where he goes through the flames and everything else and then captures her and promises to marry her, etc. That doesn't exist in quite the same way. We'll get to that. So what he then says is, he is going to say, and then he announces he is the son of a certain person. And then when we finish that, I'll tell you the mystery of that one. So this is called Prince du Rhin.
Let me
So who is this Siegmund that he talks about? That is Sigmund, Wagner's Sigmund. In the Nibelungenlied, and it's traced here, Gunther is living in Worms, the capital of Burgundy, and that's where the hall is, which Sigurd mentions. Siegmund, in the Nibelungenlied and basically here, is alive. He's not a wolf, half son of Wotan and whoever. He is his sister, so forth and so on. She's not his sister. They are the king and queen of the Netherlands, Norway, and Nibelungenland. So Alberich appears in the Nibelungenlied, but not in here, as the person who guards the Nibelung gold for Nibelung and his two sons. You find out in the Nibelungenlied that Sigurd kills the two sons. The father has already died, and makes Lord Alberich the treasurer of the gold. And all he takes is a cloak of invisibility, which is like the Gotterdammerung Tarnhelm. There's no ring, nothing was forged. There is a magical wand that he leaves there, and he leaves all the gold there too. And the gold never appears, and the wand never appears in the first half of the Nibelungenlied. So, we are now here where we are. In Gotterdammerung, Sigurd is welcomed right away. He doesn't defy anybody. He just says, I have no land, I have no property, I just have my body and my sword, Notung. The sword is not named in Sigurd, and Sigurd defies this king. You want to be my friend or you want to fight me? Gunther says, I've never feared anything, but I'd rather be your friend and declare you victor. So, like with the Gotterdammerung, they swear an oath of allegiance on going to get Brunhild, but we don't have any evidence from Sigurd that Sigurd has really ever known her before, certainly not proposed to her, certainly not gone through the flames for her and then proposed to marry her. At this point, Gutrune gives Sigurd before that, in Gotterdammerung, Siegfried is given a potion so that he will have a complete memory loss and only not remember Brunhild, but will only remember remember Gutrune, sorry. Sigurd gets a potion too, but it's only for Sigurd to fall in love with Gutrune/Hilda. The potion is proposed by Hagen in Gotterdammerung. It's proposed by Gutrune/Hilda's mother, Uta. They, instead of just swearing to each other in a small little ceremony, they're swearing before the entire town of Worms. So that ends Act 1 here. In Gotterdammerung, there's a Waltraute scene. That doesn't exist in the Nibelungenlied or in Sigurd. They go to Act 1, Scene 3 in that as the second part of it, and what happens, as you probably know, is Siegfried claims Brunhilde under the guise of being Gunther because he's using the Tarnhelm to disguise himself as Gunther. Because that actually happens in Act 2 of the 4-act Sigurd. And what ends up happening is instead of just Gunther and Sigurd going to the island where Brunhild is, Hagen tags along too. And in the Nibelungenlied, it's actually 4 people, so it just gets really confusing. In the Nibelungenlied, what ends up happening is actually a contest between Brunhilde and Gunther. Gunther can't do it, so Sigurd puts on a cloak of invisibility and pretends to be Gunther and throws a javelin farther, heels a rock farther, and jumps farther than Brunhilde, and therefore gets Brunhilde as his. Unlike Gotterdammerung with the Tarnhelm, Sigurd, because she doesn't know him, just wears Gunther's armor and his helmet and keeps the visor down. And she thinks, okay, this is the first person to rescue me. In Gotterdammerung, this is the second person who has claimed her through the fire. This is the first person in Sigurd. So there's not the same tension that happens in the other. what ends up happening is they basically say to everybody who comes, there are rules. If you guys really want to try to capture Brunhilde, there are rules. The rule is there can only be one person. He must be pure of heart. He must show no offense to anybody, to Brunhilde. He must never have loved or been under the yoke of a woman. And Sigurd says, I'm it. I'm the only one who's never done that, so I must go. Hagen assumes he's going to be killed. They also, the other two, must leave and go back to Worms. If Sigurd is successful, they will transport Sigurd and Brunhilde back to the Rhine. So basically in Gotterdammerung, Siegfried is a wimp. He only kills a dragon, then kills Mima, who's no match for him, then knocks a stick out of Wotan's hand, shattering it, and then goes through the fire and does it. Sigurd needs to defeat Norns, who have washed and handed him a shroud for his death, elves, Valkyries, kobolds, who are German sprites, monsters, phantoms, like 7 different groups of people, all in a series of 2 ballets. That's the French Grand Opera, right? All in the series of 2 ballets have to destroy him. So I'm going to sing you the aria of when he's ready to go take on all of these people themselves. The basic gist of this aria is that there's all of this clamor, and now all of a sudden there's the quiet before the storm. And the storm is that he has to fight everybody. He actually presumes he probably could die. He's ready to go, but then he hesitates and said, I could die. But the good thing about that is, even on my deathbed, even on my tomb, the voice of Hilda saying my name will awaken me. And my voice will continue to say Hilda and think about Hilda. Then he changes his mind and says, no, her inspiration will redouble my efforts, and I will go get Brunhilde for Gunther. We're going to get more of it, yeah.
Yes, make sure we're on
Yeah.
the same page.
Sorry about that. No. Technical difficulty.
Which song?
Le Brie de Chien. Oh, no, I didn't sing Jean. I'm sorry. That's my mistake. I put the order in the wrong order. I am going to sing, actually, J'ai gardé mon âme ingénieuse. This is actually the gist of, this is when Sigurd says, I have to be the one who does it because I'm pure of heart and I've never been under the yoke of a woman, and you guys have done that. Hagen tries to interrupt in a part that's cut where he says, whoever gets Brunhilde will be master over her forever. But Sigurd has said, I have already extracted a promise from you, Gunther, that if I get Brunhilde for you, I get to reclaim my prize. But doesn't tell her, unlike Gotterdammerung, he doesn't tell Gunther what the prize is. So they then agree, after he sings this, that he should be the one to go rescue Brunhilde. So he's hinted that he's got another love, and it's Hilda. And he's also said, I will not only get Brunhilde, I will return her to you in the condition she is, which is still a virgin. So now we go to the third one, which is Le Bruit des Champs, and he's trying to figure out how to conquer this woman. And that horn signals the first signaling of the horn that is a gift from the god Odin, Wotan, that he's supposed to lead the charge to get Brunhilde. He fights, he sounds the horn a second time, he fights, he sounds the horn a third time, and then everything clears away and a palace emerges from a fiery lake. So he wins. The Norns, who don't sing in this, actually lead him in, and the Valkyries as well, who also don't sing, and they lead him in to Brunhilde, and he finds her, and he's on the island of Iceland, which is not in Gotterdammerung, but it is listed in the Nibelungenlied. And so here he is on Iceland, and he exclaims his first words on seeing her of how she looks, how beautiful she is, and he is still going to keep his oath to Gunther not to touch her. That is, je suis vainqueur, I am the victor. So remember I said he doesn't quite encounter her the way that Siegfried encounters Brunhilde the second time in Gotterdammerung. This basically tracks the first time, except in this case he's doing it for Gunther and not for him. She sings a song about the beauty of the world and the sun, and then takes it over to say, my conqueror, I belong to you. I will be faithful to you to the last day. Then, instead of a 45-minute duet, as in Siegfried, she falls asleep again. Before falling to sleep, she actually gives him a very lavishly embroidered girdle, which is basically her chastity belt, and says, I belong to you, you get to take my virginity, here is the gift that is the troth of my love. He then sings, oh, she's tempting, essentially, but got to keep the oath. So he, as in Gotterdammerung, puts a sword between himself and her, and instead of a few nights, as apparently is in Gotterdammerung, one night, and they are transported magically back to Worms on the Rhine. The next act begins where, oh, I forgot to tell you, this is actually the most exciting thing. In addition to all of those monsters and elves and whatever, he's also fighting an invisible choir during this ballet. And the invisible choir transports everybody to Worms, where Gunther is asleep. The invisible choir says, please come out. You are going to have a reward. The mother and daughter, Uta and Hilda being Gutruna, tried to convince each other this is a great thing. Hilda's not so sure. Uta says, no, this is great. Your hero has come, and he's come to marry you. So then Siegfried shows up and is not seen by Gunther, but is heard by Gunther, and he sings a little piece that basically says, I did what I promised. I'm going to collect my reward. In the morning, Brunhilde is going to awaken. Put on your armor, including the helmet that I used, which is over here, and she will see you as the person who has claimed her and think you did it. It is called Oui, Sigurd est vainqueur. He likes to say he's the victor a lot. So what, of course, happens? Then they have a happy wedding, maybe. They have a happy wedding at first. Gunther sings a duet with Brunhild in which he convinces her, yeah, I'm the guy who did it. I rescued you. You're mine. But then he says, while they're singing the duet, I get to claim this lovely woman who was brought to me by another. So there's already the tension. They bring the priests who are on the other side of the Rhine. They gather everybody together. Hagen and Hilda both come to the people and say, we're going to have a wonderful feast. We're going to have a wonderful thing. Then Gunther makes a fatal mistake. Gunther says, I'm marrying you. This is wonderful. I don't know what's going to happen here. Sigurd comes in on a horse And he says, okay, I did what I promised. I want my prize. My prize is your sister Hilda. Gunther actually says to Hilda, do you want to marry this guy? And of course, we know from earlier on, she provided a potion so he would fall in love with her. And she says, of course I do. It's going to be wonderful. Oh, good, a double marriage. So this is the fatal mistake. Gunther says, Brunhilde, take Sigurd's hand, join it with Hilda's hand so that they can be wedded in matrimony as well. Brunhilde grabs his hand. Her first instinct is, what poison is going through my veins? Something is wrong. I don't understand. When Sigurd clasps her hand, his hand burns. So this is sort of the scene which you'll see in Gotterdammerung, where some people who are in the audience are actually going to be in the chorus for this, where Brunhilde says to Siegfried, I see that ring on your finger, but Gunther is my husband. He's the one who got me. Why did you steal that ring from Gunther? And all kinds of calamity results. They swear that they've all been faithful, et cetera, and all done the right thing. And then, as of course you know, the three, Hagen, Brunhilde, and Gunther, plot the death of Siegfried for breaking his oath on the spear and his oath to Gunther as well. Here, the mystery continues. Nobody knows what's going on. Hilda suspects there's something crazy, but then joins in the festivities. Her mother, Uta, however, being the seer of the future, says it's blood, it's catastrophe, everything's going to go wrong. And while everybody's happily enjoying the feast and singing this lovely chorus, she's singing this crazy line and then falls lifeless. End of the act. Everything's wonderful. So Act 3 of Gotterdammerung has this whole thing with the Rhine maidens. Remember how you told you no prologue, no Norns? Who sing? No Rhine maidens. Sorry. What ends up happening is Brunhilde wants to be alone, and so the ladies in waiting go away, and she sings this incredible aria where she realizes something is really wrong. She suspects the truth of what happened with Sigurd and Gunther, but she doesn't know for sure. So she is asking Odin, Wotan, to take her away from this and put her back on the rock or bring her back to Valhalla, and she'll apologize for everything, and she doesn't want to be involved in this earthly life anymore. It doesn't happen. She says, lightning is not falling on me. It's horrible. So then Hilda shows up and says, why are you crying? You got all this treasure. You're married to the man Gunther. He's the man, etc. And she says, I don't know, something's wrong and I don't understand it, but I have to confess, I'm feeling in love with Sigurd, and therefore that means I'm committing adultery and I'm ashamed. So Hilda, to try to make it even worse and rub it in, and says, well, Sigurd told me what happened. Says, he took Gunther's place, put on the helmet, not only that, got your girdle, which he's given to me, because he promised to love me based on the potion and then claiming her. So it's a battle royale between the two of them. Hilda, he loves me. Brunhilde, he loves me. Then, Hilda realizing what she did, she also feels shame because she revealed a secret she shouldn't have revealed. That duet ends. She goes to Gunther, her brother, and says, I did a stupid thing, a horrible thing. I revealed the secret. Well, Hagen takes Gunther's place to chew her out and says, I don't know what we're going to do with you. And she says, beat me. No, that's too good for you. You need to go to the forest. You need to bring Brunhilde with you, and we're going to see what happens. Hagen then says, look, Gunther, Sigurd broke the oath. That's it. He's got to die. Gunther says, I can't do that. That's not on me. I swore an oath. I've got to keep my oath. Hagen says, don't worry. I didn't swear the oath the way you did. I'll be the person who kills him. I know where he's going to be because Brunhilde has been coming every night to the forest. I know Sigurd is going to show up, so we're going to go to the forest as well. So then, guess what happens? Anybody? Sigurd comes to the forest. And this is the aria that he sings while being in the forest. And maybe, we're not quite sure, but it sounds as though he's probably trying to meet with Brunhilde. Lovely forest music. And now for the reason you're all here, what happens? So, he has just said, I feel sorry. Brunhilde's so sad, but I don't know why. It's crazy. I just would like to see her smile again. So she appears, but she brings purple sage and verbena. And she says, Sigurd, you need to do this. Okay, but why? No, you need to do this. Strew the verbena and the purple sage and repeat after me. And they repeat a plea to Odin to get rid of all of the bad vibes that are happening and see what happens. He does it. All of a sudden, the effects of the potion have been removed. He realizes he wasn't in love with Hilda. He realizes that by going to get Brunhilde for Gunther, he fell in love with Brunhilde. They sing a wonderful duet. Then she says, here is your sword. You're going to need it because you're going into battle like right away. In the Nibelungenlied, the sword is called Balmung. In Gotterdammerung and Die Walküre and Siegfried, it is called Notung. In Sigurd, it is called sword. He takes the sword. He goes into the forest where the other people are because they're on a night hunt. Gunther actually is the one who fights with him, not Hagen. Unlike the Nibelungenlied and unlike Gotterdammerung, where there's actually no fight. They actually spear him, Hagen actually spears him in the back. Dirty tricks. In here, there's an actual fight. Hilda joins Brunhilde and says, "You still love him?" She says, "I still love him, and I'm ashamed, but I have no choice." Hilda says, "He is going to die if you don't do something." Brunhilde says, "But you love him too, right?" Hilda says, "Yes. Don't you want to see him alive?" Hilda says, "If I can't have him, nobody can." And says to Brunhilde, "You've got to renounce your love for him, and then I will make sure that he gets saved." Brunhilde says, "Send me to Odin, send me back. I don't want to be on this earth anymore." Hilda says it again, "Do it or he's going to die." "Okay, I renounce love for him. Go save him." But it's too late. Gunther has already killed him in battle. The soldiers bring him in with the townspeople already saying he's dead. He's not quite dead yet, of course. That never happens in opera. You got to do something. He sings, "Please bring me down to the valley because I want to see the beautiful bright sky and starlit sky one more time." Okay, fine. They do. Hilda now is really angry because she knows that Gunther has created this entire mess. And this is sort of where the second part of the Nibelungenlied comes into the one part of Sigurd. She blames him and says, "You are going to die. I'm going to make sure of it." She takes off a bracelet that was given to her by the envoys of this king, who said, "We have to leave, but if you ever need the king's help, give this bracelet, send it to a messenger. The messenger will bring it to him, and we will come either save you or avenge you." So Hilda does what needs to be done, gives the bracelet to her mother and says, "Go do it to the messenger. Gunther, you're going to die. You're going to pay for what you did to me and Sigurd. Everything is going to be horrible." So as we know in Gotterdammerung, that doesn't quite happen. Brunhilde gets the ring. Brunhilde gets the ring. One thing that I should mention with this, there's a magical moment in Gotterdammerung where Hagen is supposed to try to take the ring, and then the lifeless hand of Siegfried comes up, showing that Hagen was the murderer. In the Nibelungenlied, the way they do it is, there's a tradition that if a person goes to the dead person will bleed anew. And Hagen did that, and he did bleed, and that's how Kriemhild is her name in the Nibelungenlied. The Hilda Gutruna character knew that Hagen killed. But Gunther says, "No, I killed him, I had to do it," so forth. So this is the sort of thing that's sort of setting up. Then they build a funeral pyre, as they do in Gotterdammerung. Brunhilde has already promised to join Sigurd on the funeral pyre, and she does. But unlike what happens here, the end of the world, only the end of the Burgundy kingdom happens in two ways. One, Sigurd and Brunhilde actually do go back to Odin. They have an apotheosis the same way that happens in The Flying Dutchman, if you've seen that. And then the enemy armies have come in and they're surrounding as Gunther and assuredly Hagen are going to meet their fates. And in real life, that's what happened. In the Battle of Worm, Gunther fought the battle and lost to Aetius, a Roman general and his army, and another army that came from the east. Remember how I said that Hilda had rejected the king to marry that king, and then eventually, because she was already in love with Sigurd? Do you want to guess who that king was? Real life king. Anybody? So surrounding the army is the mercenaries, along with the Roman army, of the guy who wanted to marry Hilda, Attila the Hun. And that's how the opera ends. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you like the music, send in to Tundi Productions and tell them you would like a concert version of this next year. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.